So we're going to have a very interactive discussion today. If you are in the chat, feel free to drop any comments, drop any questions that you have. My name is Brandon Fogel. This is Evolution, and I'm actually here with my wife, Jessi. She's going to be in the background. She has a microphone, so she might be saying stuff as well. We don't got a camera on her today, so you won't be able to see that. But if she feels like she wants to say something, go ahead and chime in.
Hello.
All right. So we're going to be talking about why are you against Israel? I don't know you personally, but in general, because I think a lot of the vibe is a lot of people kind of stand against Israel in a lot of ways, or at least that's what's being fed if you're on the internet, if you're on YouTube, X. And I wanted to delineate two different directions we can take this, as in, should Christians support the modern nation state of Israel? And what does the Bible say about Israel in the last days? So we got to keep those in mind, what we're actually talking about, because I think in general, Christians, if they're familiar with the Bible, they understand that Israel is prevalent throughout it. And when we're talking about that, are we talking about the same thing as the nation state of Israel that is in current existence today with Benjamin Netanyahu and that whole government over there? Is it the same thing? Is it different? Or is one like a shell of the other? And also, we're going to take a look at, I caught this the other day, NBC News did what do you call it? A conversation, an analysis. What is it? Like
Segment?
A commentary? What?
A segment?
A segment. That's a good word for it. A segment about a possible temple being built in Israel over the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And we're going to take a look at this these are some Zionists, people that are Zionists over there that support that. But we're going to give a breakdown of this and discussing this.
Miracle signs and wonders.
Sydney Galbraith is a tourist from Canada. She describes herself as a Christian Zionist and a true believer.
And what do you think should happen to the Muslim sites that are here? The Dome of the Rock, the Al-Aqsa Mosque?
I think the Lord is going to do something so unusual that our minds can't conceive. If he were to tell us, we wouldn't understand. But we know that this is his land, and we're going to watch him push them out. He's going to totally drive them out, because this is the place where this is my land.
Drive out the Muslims.
Yeah.
And you want that to happen?
Yes. Yeah. This is the Lord. This is our place.
But those are biblical prophecies. What about in practical terms? What about the Muslims who live here?
So I like how he brings that up. Just that those are biblical prophecies. What about real everyday thing? Because people, there is kind of a disconnect between, like, just in general, we see the Bible, that's just a story, account of thousands of years ago. What do you think, Jessi? Like, just hearing that, your overall, just first of all, impression of that when you see that lady, and I don't even know, like, because you don't really have, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, of just in general, like, a stance on a lot of these things. You're kind of floating through a lot of these things. What do you think, Jessi?
I mean, I think I side with what she's saying. Like, doesn't he say he's going to be building his temple there eventually?
I mean,
but you're right. I kind of felt cringy for her, be like, "Yeah, drive him out." It sounded really rude, but at the same time, like, it is his land, and it's for the Jews for the new temple, right?
I mean, when we think, there being a temple, because in Christianity, a lot of it, there is no temple. Kind of like we are the temple, the church is the temple. We're being built up. An actual physical temple is kind of like a relic of the past. It's not even necessarily. That's what a lot of people. I play in devil's advocate. I do think there will be a physical, literal temple, because we do see that the Antichrist will walk into that temple and desecrate it. You know.
But yeah, so why does she or anybody think that they're going to be wiped? The Muslims are going to be taken off that site. What is biblically supposed to be happening? Well,
I think in general, I think it is God's land. It's the city of the king, and it's talked about in the Bible. That's the city of the great king. The Messiah will go through the gates. He'll set, because we see these prophecies in the Old Testament and almost alluded to in the New Testament about the Messiah will build a temple. That's like what the end of Ezekiel is even talking about. And even that temple itself, I see it as like almost there's going to be a third temple, which is going to happen, and then the Antichrist will come in and desecrate it. But then there will be a fourth temple, which will be in the millennial kingdom, which Jesus will set up, and it will be like crazy big. It'll be, and then there will be sacrifices happening. But even that, it doesn't sound normal to a regular Christian. Like what do you think? When I say sacrifices, we think we don't need those. And I don't think it is a matter of needing, but it's just approaching God in this fallen world. And it's like those things bring him glory. It's not those things are taking away sin or removing sin, but it's just like they're glorifying God. They're offerings to God. The Messiah is showing us of doing them because his sacrifice is different. It's not like animals or anything like that. He's like himself. He's the temple. He's the high priest. He's the sacrifice. He's the lamb. He's all those things, the embodiment of all those things. But just starting it off with this, because this is like throwing it like the temple, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, because this is where Christianity, Judaism, and Islam meet in one place right now. All of us regard it as a holy place because for different reasons in a lot of ways. But
so the Muslim, okay, why do the Jews like this exact site, or like just the Jerusalem in general?
Well, I mean, throughout throughout the Bible, like Moses was promised the land of Israel. He's promised that land. And then where he was going to sacrifice Isaac, it's speculated is where the Al-Aqsa Mosque is actually sitting right there. And I don't know if
is that the Dome of the Rock?
So that's the difference. There is a difference between the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock.
I've never heard that first word you said.
They're two different places actually, and I wasn't too familiar with it. I always heard about them, but you only really ever see the Dome of the Rock. The Al-Aqsa Mosque it's actually like. It looks completely different. It's not a gold dome. It's just different. And there's a different reason. I actually searched it the other day of what is the actual difference.
Mm-hmm.
But her bringing this up, like, this is a Zionist person, it sounds like she's Canadian, or whatever in this. And there's a lot of these people, like, is it right to be Zionist? Is it just kind of like, it's just your flavor, it's your preference? Or should we as Christians even care about this? Should we care about Israel? Because we always talk about we want to, like, Christians go there to visit the sites and everything. Mm-hmm. Does it have any real significance, tangible, like, does it matter in God's eyes, I guess, today? I mean,
I guess you'd think it'd have to, just because the whole Bible is all about the promised land. It's all about, always talks about the actual physical land. I mean, surely there's some kind of significance there.
Yeah, I see it as... And I wasn't always, and I'm just going to be candid on a lot of ways in talking about these things, because I'm not necessarily like, I was kind of exposed to it early on when I became a Christian. I think the first time I even thought about these things was watching Fox News and Glenn Beck, and he was kind of pro-Israel, and it made me even like thinking about those types of things. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of, it like fed into like naturally, yeah, obviously we would support Israel as Christians. That's God's holy land. Those are his people. And we're going to go through a couple of different passages of the Bible itself. And this is from Deuteronomy verse 7:6. It says, "For you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you out of all the peoples of the face of the earth to be his treasured possession." So that's talking about Israel, who had just been redeemed or rescued out of Egypt. Now, we apply it to us as Christians in a lot of ways, because the Apostle Peter takes like that exact verse and he's referencing all of Christians, which it is.
Yeah.
But there is a sense it feels like that it starts with that. I see it as like the physical chosen people is Israel, but then there is a kind of like a secret, mysterious chosen of election of whoever is going to trust in Jesus is chosen and the elect from the foundations of the world, because he is actually the elect one. He's the chosen one.
Yeah.
But there is a sense where like God, you can't take that verse and just rip it out and just say it. Like Peter understood who he's talking about, who God was talking about when he said that. He was talking about the Jewish people or the people of Israel. I know these are like conflated terms. We say the Jewish, Israel, like, it just almost like it.
So what are the Jewish people living in Jerusalem, where this mosque is? How do they feel walking by it when it's completely opposed to what their beliefs are, right? How do they feel about the mosque being on their land? Is there constant tension there?
It sounds like that. And even like in the video I was watching with the NBC, the special that they did, it did seem like that there is tension, like the animosity between them. And a lot of people see it as Israel is rising up, because they are instigating a lot of it, because they want a temple. They want it to happen because they're not really carrying out all the law that God has given them, because obviously they're not doing the sacrifices. They don't have it built up, and you can't just. They've made it into obeying and like studying the Torah and studying the law and learning all that has become like the replacement for their sacrificial system. It has like replaced all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so why do you think people don't like Israel? There is a war going on, right, with Israel and Iran.
Well, I mean, there's a war with United
And the
States
United States.
United States and Iran, and a lot of people what?
Okay.
Yeah, we're in war with Iran.
Right.
Like we wouldn't like. I don't even know if it's been like technically declared that, because Trump has kind of went off in this way of just saying it's an operation because he has to go to Congress after a certain amount of time to fully declare war.
Okay, so like, but why do people hate Israel? Are they not just defending their land? Don't they want to kick out?
People are like the nation state of Israel. Why a lot of people dislike them is because for the most part is they see them as trying to encroach on all these other nations and take over. They want to set up regional hegemony. That's kind of like a power. They want to be the power of the Middle East.
Who does?
Israel.
Okay.
Like over there, they want to be and pretty much they are. The only one that is standing in their way right now is Iran. Pretty much. I think Saudi Arabia and those states, those Arabian states over there, I think there's 7 of them, like Qatar, Kuwait, or in that area, like they still have a massive power. But like, this is where like people think that Israel uses the United States to destabilize all these other nations, like Iraq and Libya. Like we went in there and just completely made it not like civilized, or that they're just kind of in chaos right now. So we destroyed the people in power there. But now Israel pretty much has power over all these other nations because they have the weapons. They have the ability to exert military force.
Okay, so do you think Israel's doing the right thing?
See, this is I'm not like in the right thing. This is where I think we have to draw, as Christians, we can support Israel, like the blanket name and label of Israel, because as if we're talking about the Israel of the Bible, but this like who that is over there, I can't see it as anything other than the actual Israel itself. But it doesn't mean like that they're carrying out, like they're not doing everything perfect over there. They're just doing things the best that in their interest. And they don't even believe in Jesus as the Messiah. So if you really think about it, the people that are over there that are Jews and that are the nation state of Israel, they just almost see it as like the New Testament hasn't come. Like they're living in still go and conquer the land, conquest, take it over. You know what I mean? If we left it at that, you know, that was the command that God gave to Joshua. Go and take over the land. It's
Old
your
Testament,
land.
yeah.
And the Old Testament, well, I mean, they don't have a New Testament. It's just, us even calling it the Old and New Testament, it almost becomes an incorrect terminology because in our idea, we think, well, the new is better than what's old. Like we think, well, the new is here, the old, it's replaced whatever. And I don't think that it is that. It's like the foundation of it is what like their Bible, and it's just really a continuation of the scriptures.
I never thought about it like that.
We call it like pretty much as in the old covenant, the new covenant. That's when we say New Testament, Old Testament, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just, and the New Testament is all it is. It's a greater fulfillment of the Old Testament, and it actually allows the old covenant to be fulfilled in its entirety and in actuality or reality. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like the law of the Old Testament is written on the people's hearts. And what was just like hinted at with the sacrifice of the animals in the Old Testament is actually fulfilled in the one-time sacrifice, which is Jesus' sacrifice that actually removes sins.
Yeah.
But like, all right, diving into this, I want to go a little bit further and just in this same conversation with this person, because it's also going to show another Zionist over there and what they thought about it.
We will speak up for Zion's sake.
It's not the first trip here for Jerry Bowers from Texas.
You're a pastor.
Yeah.
Why did you come here today? Why is it important for you to be in this spot?
It's important to be in Israel itself in order to support this nation during time of war. And because we believe as Christians that this is going to be the eternal gathering place for all Christians at the end of time.
Who do you think should control this spot? Do you think it should no longer be controlled by Muslim authorities? Do you think this should be controlled, run, dominated by the state of Israel?
I believe that, because there's going to be more freedom here if it's administrated by the state of Israel.
Just right there, like the guy, I think he's saying what a lot of people expect Zionists to believe. That so when we think about just in general, the Jews were in that city in Jerusalem, and in 70 AD they got dispersed. Their city got destroyed, and they got sent out into all parts of the world. The Christians continued that for a while, when Constantine came along and set up the Christianity as a religion. His mother actually went there and found a lot about the Christian sites over there. But it's like six centuries later when Muhammad, that's when he comes along and he sets it up as a holy site as well, because he regards a lot of the things that the Jews and Christians believe as good and from God. It's just kind of, he takes it in a different direction, says he's the final prophet, doesn't necessarily believe everything the Christians believe, and he twists a lot of the scriptures that the Christians and Jews believe.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like from the 7th century on, they're regarding it as a holy place as well. I think that's where they believe that Muhammad ascended to heaven. There's different reasons, like why they have the Al-Aqsa Mosque there, the Dome of the Rock. It's because that they regard that as a specific holy place. And it's like, I know we think as Christians, nothing's going to change the fact that God's going to do what he's going to do when he wants to do it. You know, but what do you think, Jessi?
Yeah, I kind of like what that lady was saying, like, they're asking her, what do you think about this and that? She goes, I don't even know. I just know God's going to do something. Then that's kind of my attitude. Like, just sit back. It doesn't matter what I think. Like, God's going to make it happen. As long as I'm in on his side, then I think we're good to go.
Oh, yeah. And I would say, all right, we're going to get into a couple of different verses here. This is, why do we think God chose Israel? Most people start off with the Genesis 12, 1-3. Talking to Abraham, I will make you into a great nation. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all the peoples of the earth will be blessed through you. And all the peoples of the earth were blessed because of Jesus Christ that came through Israel. But so it's this, God made a specific covenant with this nation, with Abraham, and he gave them circumcision, and he gave them a way to distinguish themselves from all the other nations. It was really to preserve the messianic line, but it did make a distinct people, you know, and them being different than all the other nations. I think he wanted them to be the oddballs, wanted them to stand out, and he made it so it was impossible for people that are of Israel to just mix and mingle with the people that he wanted to have that specific line. And I just don't think that it's been abolished since Jesus came here. Just because he's here doesn't mean that now that that's done away with, it's continuing on. But it's just Christianity has come and said, we've overtaken that. There's no need for the separation. There's no need for, we're all one in Messiah, kind of thing. So it starts with this, if we disconnect just the modern state of Israel today, what they are, and I don't think it's any different than of seeing them as the regular Israel that was there in the Bible. I don't see as different. It's just because it's so far removed. Did they all the people because even when you get into Israel, there's Sephardic Jews, and then there's what's called Ashkenazi Jews.
Never heard those words.
A Sephardic is kind of the people that more look like Middle Eastern. They're of that lineage, and they have those characteristics. They look like that. The Ashkenazi is more of the Jews that are from the European. They're the more wider, Ben Shapiro and people like that. And so people say, well, that's not the real Jews. That's not the real Israel. But what do you think about that? Just hearing that.
I know. I've always wondered, the Holocaust. It seemed like you see the pictures Anne Frank and her family and stuff. It's not the dark skinned Arabic look like you would think Jesus would have been.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so tell me that again. It's how did
they were more just the white skin, more light skin.
Yeah, how are they? But they're both. It's just, when you say Jews, they're both
they're just. I would say Jews in general. It's because it's not just an ethnicity. It can be because you can literally have been descended from the Jewish people, like from David, King David or whatever,
Right.
because he had thousands of children or what, I don't even know
Yeah.
or he had a lot of them. So like so some people can do their ancestry and have like like a bloodline in them that they're a percentage Jewish. That is not necessarily, when we're talking biblically Jewish is just a term that just means of. I just bit my lip again.
Ow.
I know. I bit my lip this week and it hurt really bad. But that you're of Judea, you're of the people of Judea, and or of the land of Judea. And then it just became like synonymous with Israel, just the covenant people of God. Because when you think about it, like 1,000 years before Christ, there was King David, and he had his kingdom, and that was when it was in its golden age. And then after he died, after Solomon died, the nation got split. And then there was the northern tribes, and then there was the southern tribes, which was just
Israel
Judah.
and Judah.
Well, just Judah and Benjamin. And then the northern ones were all the other 10 tribes. What?
But the kingdoms were called Israel and Judah.
Yeah, the northern was called Israel.
Yeah.
And then the northern tribe, the northern kingdom, went off into exile in like 700 BC or something like that. The Assyrians came in and took them out of the land. So they're like being dispersed all throughout the world. And then so there's only the Jerusalem or Judah kingdom, or like we're king, like you know what I'm talking about, in Jerusalem, Benjamin and Judah. And then so they're there for until like 586, and then they get taken into exile, and then they come back into the land, and then we get to the time of Christ. So it's like Israel, like people that are Jewish, they go in and out of the land constantly. God sends them out of the land in exile at different times, but they always regard Jerusalem and Israel as their homeland. They've always done that. You know what I mean?
Even like, my ignorance is coming out, like the Holocaust Jews, like the Anne Franks, they think their homeland is in Israel, even though they were living in like Austria and.
Oh yeah. So they're in the diaspora. So that's what happens. Jews that so in 70 AD, after Jesus died, 40 years later, Jerusalem gets destroyed, and then Jews are kicked out throughout the Roman Empire and all the rest of the world. So because Rome destroys Jerusalem.
Okay.
But then so it's like now they're in the diaspora. That's what's happening. So it's like there's always this like spiritual as opposed to the natural. The natural is the physical descendants of Israel that are the like the covenant physical natural descent people of God. But then the spiritual is like kind of Christians in general. Whoever's in Jesus is a part of this spiritual community that's like unseen. But like God still has those ties to the physical because he made a covenant with them, So it's different how people are regarded as Jewish. It's not just an ethnicity. It's that if you undergo circumcision, if you like come under the yoke of the law, like that is what it is to be Jewish. Like you could say like Rahab, she was Jewish, but she was of the land of Jericho, but she became in the Messianic line because or Ruth, she was a Moabite, but she.
Is it not? It's not a religion. Like if anybody goes, oh, I practice Judaism, I'm a Jew. That's not
But
correct.
you can't just do that. Like
that's not correct.
You can't just do that. It's a legal thing. It's like you have to become Jewish today, and this is like how it's all fleshed out. It's because for centuries they've put all this together, and they have their oral law and how they regard it, and the rabbis are kind of doing that. They have it in a whole system, like how to become Jewish. They do you go to them and you say, I want to become Jewish. And then they really try to dissuade you and push you away from doing that. But then if you do actually want to become Jewish and you go through there's like a certain amount of steps that you do, and then you undergo circumcision, or if you're a woman, you do, I think both, whether you're male or female, you go through a baptism. Like there's certain steps that they do, but then you are legally Jewish. You're forever legally Jewish. If you do that, you could you could turn away from the faith, but you are always considered legally Jewish. If you undergo conversion, and that's what it is. It's not just an ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if you have a child after you're Jewish, if you're a woman, that child is Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they've determined it. And I think that they have the legal rights to make these laws and decisions. Hey, just tuned in a few minutes ago. I am an Ashkenazi Jew. If I may say, Being Jewish is an ethnic group with a haplotype that connects every Jew. To be Jewish, your mother has to be Jewish. So you're Ashkenazi Jew. So we were just talking about that.
Yeah, cool.
That's really neat. Because I know a little bit about it, and a lot of times when you see Ashkenazi Jew, people just kind of throw that word out there, and they can almost mean it as a pejorative in certain senses because they say that they're not real Jewish. But I understand, and I believe that obviously, yes, that is a person that is really Jewish. It's just a certain type, It's just like everyone, like we're all humans. But it's like there's different races, different colors, different people groups, but we're still all humanity.
Yeah.
It's like so Jewish people, like they're like whether they got pushed into Europe or got pushed into Asia or got pushed into Africa, it doesn't necessarily matter because it goes beyond even bloodlines. Like that's what they would regard it as.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so when we get in so the differences, and I want to keep this at the forefront of our minds, is the difference. Should Christians support the modern nation state of Israel? And what does the Bible say about Israel in the last days? Like, so the biblical Israel and the modern nation state of Israel, I don't see them necessarily, in my view, as different. I see the modern nation state of Israel as the real Israel. But this gets so complicated because even real Jews, there's a lot of them that disagree with Israel, and they don't want it to be a thing at all. Because they see it as when the Messiah comes, he will set up the actual nation state, and it's almost like a forgery, or it's a fabrication. It's like fake. This whatever is over there. It's like these Jews got together and they they just wanted power and control, and that's what's going on. Says, of course, you can convert and join the Jewish tribe. You are discouraged to convert because once you do, you are held to strict laws, and it is very difficult to do so. So, did you say were you born Jewish, or did you convert to Judaism? So, yeah, if you like, so I would say, like, because I do see it as that way, and I don't know if you're a Christian, if you're a Messianic Jew, or if you're Jewish and you're waiting on the Messiah. I'm a Christian. I believe in that Jesus is the Messiah, and if you're born Jewish, you don't have to practice the faith, but you will still be. Yeah. So it's not necessarily like, so there are people that are atheist Jews, people that are
Right.
they don't believe in God at all, but they just see like I almost think of it as like kind of Richard Dawkins. He's a practicing Christian. He like, he termed it some way, like not a practicing, but like a cultural Christian, because he likes the idea, the culture that Christianity creates, but he doesn't believe in God. He's actually very opposed to the Jewish or the biblical God. But yeah, so in general, I just see I see that the whether we should, as Christians, we're obligated to support the nation state of Israel. I don't see that at all. It gets kind of, if you really dive into even the New Testament itself, that Paul, he talks about we are indebted to the Jewish people because we're sharing with them in spiritual things, so that we're indebted to them in natural things and physical things. So we should, I think, support and as much as we can give to Jewish people and take care of them, because the video we just saw the other day regarding. It was kind of this divide within Christianity that is happening with people that support Israel, people that don't. I forget his name. It's at First Fruits of Zion, but that whoever we were listening to, and I've listened to him before, but he was talking about and Jesus when he comes again and he's talking to the sheep and the goats, and some said they took care of him, they visited him in prison, they took care of his health, his needs or whatever. And he says, whenever you did this to my brothers, you were doing it to me. Like, was he talking about Christians in general, people of faith in general, or was he specifically referencing the Jewish people? He says, I was born Jewish, raised in a modern religious home where the culture was emphasized. That's all. So I'm very interested in Jewish people in general. I love Jewish people, and I was just talking to my wife Jessi just the other day about this. Like, I see it as like Christians. I do see it as like there's a lot of Christians that are in name only Christians. The people that are against Jewish people or against Israel, that like are you just nominally a Christian? Are you like, because I do see it as like when Jesus was here, he was like saying, if God were your father, you would love me. Just the same way that he was like, there was a difference between who he considered true Jews at the heart is if they embraced him as the Messiah, they were of his people, or they were, however he phrases that. I see that almost in the Gentile version of the church. Like if you are really of Jesus's sheep, you will
love Jesus' people.
You will love Jesus's people, his natural brothers. That's how I see it, and that might be kind of controversial because a lot of people, especially if you're on the internet, a lot of people. I just see it as Israel is so polarizing right now. People are so up in arms against it in a lot of ways. Like,
well, even in the United States, like you can be an American and still not like, what your own leaders are doing too, So it's just like it's going to be the same, really, any probably country you're in.
But there has been just such a big push of Israel because they see Israel as committing genocide. That's almost become a talking point. So Ashkenazi, like that is kind of like the European descent. I'm always asked, what's WHM? I'm always asked, yeah, I don't, yeah. So there's a bunch of guys where
are you from?
I don't know. Yeah. So like, yeah, there's a bunch of like Jewish people I follow like on TikTok. I just like, I've been really drawn to that. And I just, in a backstory about me, I got very, we're from the Kansas City area.
No, that's what he's saying. That means where are you from?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to tell you where you're from too. It's all good.
Yeah. So like, I do see it as, what was I kind of saying a second ago?
The story about you.
Oh, my background is kind of like, I became a Christian and then I got into, I liked Glenn Beck for a while and I know he was very pro-Israel. And I think that was kind of pushed me down that path. But I still try to be very critical. I don't try to like, I'm not like blinded. You almost have to why would I even support the nation state of Israel like now? Because a lot of people on the internet are so against them, so up in arms against it. They don't want to think about it at all. And I've been like,
right.
So it's made me really, even though I look like a regular, oh, so you're in the UK. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So
it's nice to meet
you.
you.
And you're like, I guess just in where you're from, are you in a Jewish community or is it just everyone? Because even like where we're at, like I wouldn't like know where a Jewish community is. I just know like it's very heavily Jewish, like in New York and in South Florida. But like where we're at, I wouldn't even know one way or the other necessarily.
Yeah.
But I just from my background itself, I started watching Glenn Beck. I got familiar with that. And then I kind of went down this path where I started liking, I was going to this, I found out it was what's called like Hebrew roots, which is kind of like an offshoot of Christianity. And I don't agree with a lot of the things that they teach, but it does get to like kind of because I think it's a swinging of the pendulum in the opposite way as it makes all Gentiles that we're Jewish or we're the true Hebrews, like we're like you know what I mean? And that's kind of what that all was. And Jessi was just along for the ride with that. And she's rolling her eyes right now. What do you think about that, Jessi? But that's kind of
it was a time.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool. In North London. That's awesome. So yeah, like, so are you experiencing, have you noticed like the rise in anti-Semitism? Like, do you see that as a thing or, because we hear that a lot. I say we as in me because I'm the one that's on the internet, all this. Jessi's probably,
whatever.
You see like kind of this.
Maybe I just see it because you have it on around and
That's kind of the thing now. It's like very heavily, there's the people that are just not even thinking anti-Semite, that they're just going to be mad at whoever.
It just seems
it's just, they always pin it on someone. They always will pin it on the Jews. They're the scapegoat. They're the ones that all our problems originate and they're from them. So
that's like the age-old, line.
Yeah, and then Christians,
Rome thought that, like Germany thought that.
Yeah, even like, so what happens, like the apostles and the early apostles, and they brought in a lot of Gentiles into the church, and whenever they died off, it became it's like all Gentile, and then it became a thing where it's like almost you had to weed out all the people that carried along any of these Jewish customs. Like if you want to be a part of the Christian community, you got to eat pork, and that was like a thing that like they wanted to weed everyone out that was, because they saw it as carrying in the laws that have been done away with, that are abolished. And I think that is a faulty view. I see the law, the Torah, as abiding. It's still here. It's still active. It's still real and still binding on all Jewish people. But I do see it as the difference. Like, and I was, yes, it's becoming more regular and more accepted. Yeah. I do see it as like kind of and I kind of misspoke the other day when I was saying like, if Jews don't like keep all the law, that they're sinning. And like, it's very nuanced, because it's like the law of Moses, it's not every law applies to anyone universally. Like, not all the laws that apply to men don't apply to women, or that apply to people that are kings don't apply to peasants, or like there's it's very nuanced, and it's easy to just whitewash it or broad brush it and say. And I think the same thing is like, there's certain laws what we just say as moral laws, like that apply to in general. And I think that that's what the apostles did. They took those, what the moral laws that were carried on, and they put those over the Gentiles that were coming to the church. And that's why they gave them the certain laws that you need to keep these. Not everything is binding on you, but like these specific laws. But it was they would continue learning the laws because they would go to the Sabbath, the synagogue, because that's where like Christians in general met. They met at the synagogues. That's where Paul was going. But yeah, I just see it as, I want to kind of go through a couple more different verses. So recently, 3 community ambulances were set in fire. Not much news coverage or police action. Wow, it's I mean,
Crazy.
There's just like the physical that what people are doing, but then there is the thing where like I think a lot of it is just Gentiles in general. They get upset with Jews because they see like all they hear is, well, they're the chosen ones, and it can rub Gentile Christians wrong, because they think, well, we're not special, and we think, oh, they just think that they're better than us because God chose them, And I see it as, what do you think?
Oh, I see it like that. Kind of like that woman, wasn't it, that in the Bible when she said something about the dogs and the crumbs?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, thank you, God, I got a crumb. Thank you for thinking about me at all,
Oh, yeah. But like a lot of people would see that and they are offended by it, but say, because I mean, it does seem like Jesus had that mentality. He that he was there for the Jewish people.
It's kind of like just being adopted. Like, no, you're not the real family, but thank God you're adopted and you have all the legal rights of...
Yeah, like it's kind of like we're grafted in. And even like I said Gentiles, even Jews themselves, like Paul said to them was the adoption. Like the covenants, the Messiah, all of that is for them. It's like we as Gentiles, that was kind of like the mystery that was kept, that we would be brought into those same promises. And like they're like, to say like, I see it as like all Jew or Gentile, we are all adopted into God's family because Jesus is the only one that is the biological son of God.
Right.
Like, and that's using biological in like a way just to kind of understand it, but just in general. Jews in general do not see being chosen as being special. The few that do promote that idea are giving the rest of us a bad name. And I really don't know too many Jewish people. There was a girl that I knew that was, I remember when I was in college, is before I met Jessi, but I remember telling my parents, like, there's this girl I met and she wants to go to Israel for some reason. And I remember my dad saying, is she Jewish? And I go, I think so, I guess. But I didn't know any of that stuff.
Who's that one girl?
No, it wasn't her. It was a different girl.
Oh.
But
what?
Like, Jessi. But yeah, like I don't think that they in general just think that they're better than us, or I think that I think Gentiles can think there's on any part of humanity, everybody thinks, well, I'm white, I'm better than you, or I'm black, I'm better than you. It's like we all think we all navigate or gravitate towards our own tribe, and we always think we're better than someone else. You know what I mean? So I think Jews can do that, and I think that was probably even a big struggle for the apostles. Like they could not imagine in their wildest dreams of having to go into a Gentile's house and eat with him. And that's why it was so hard for the Apostle Peter to accept that. And why like God had to really, which is so weird, because it does seem like Jesus, when he was here, he was keeping it kind of on the down low. Now, I don't even know if it's not necessarily like him as the Messiah. He for Saul, because he didn't really speak of it at all. It wasn't until he was resurrected that we first hear him saying, go to the nations and spread the gospel and preach the gospel, baptize in the name of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But it's like, even like, it was probably like years later that they were actually doing that. They were completely focused on Jewish people. And it was little by little that they were, because Jesus said you will be in Jerusalem, Samaria, and to the uttermost parts of the earth. They're really focusing down in that order. And it was kind of like, it would have been hard for them to accept it, because I come from it from the perspective of like Jews, like the apostles who were Jews. They expected it to be that if you're going to be a part of this movement, early Christianity, you had to become Jewish. And that's why even Paul, the apostle, after he had become a Christian, he was preaching people have to be Jewish to be a part of this movement. It's not, and because he said, like, if I still preach circumcision, and he says that in the book of Galatians, and that's a very early on book, that means there was a time he was preaching circumcision, like he was preaching that. But God had to reveal it to him that he was going to the Gentiles, and his gospel was that the Gentiles remain Gentile. And that's the beauty of the kingdom of God. It's Jews, and it's kind of like this radial ecclesiology. At the center is the Jewish people, but then the Gentiles are kind of on the outside. But it sounds weird, but it is kind of like, I don't see it as in God loves them more, but it's just in the same way of responsibility. Like God set up, like he had priests, and he had Levites, priests, and then a high priest. It's just a matter of holiness in regard to, like, they're held to a higher standard, and like but we're all, that's what Paul's emphasis is in the New Testament. We're all a part of the same, what is it? What is the word he use? It's like commonwealth. We're all a part, like once we're grafted in, it's like the barrier has been like brought down and we're all sharing in the same citizenship. But it doesn't remove like kind of the distinction. And I think that is where the church has missed it completely.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this a lot. And a lot of people don't hear this. And it took me a lot to even get to that, to understanding and seeing that, because it's outside. It's not on church on Sundays or Sunday school. This is not talked about. But this is, I see it like it's the only way that you can rightly understand what's going on in the New Testament. Because this is the argument that is happening. And this is the struggle, why those false apostles were following Paul from city to city, because they were still preaching circumcision, and they were trying to convert Gentiles to be proselytes. And I see the book of Galatians as these Gentile proselytes who are trying to push their, just do what we did, become Jewish, undergo circumcision, you're. And then the works of the law is this thing that it's a cheap grace. It's like, if I become Jewish, I don't really need to do anything. I'm saved. And that's like the opposite of what the message is. It's like the message is you surrender everything to Jesus. It's not just a one-time thing kind of, But I know I'm all over the place, but in saying this, but just in general, if we bring it back to like, should Christians support Israel, support Jews? Is the nation state of Israel, is that an ongoing like reality from the Bible? I would say yes. I would say it is, yes. And that's my personal opinion.
Well, it just depends on what you meant by support. Like, don't we give to like just the people in need over there? Does it mean we support like the government and what they're doing? Like,
yeah. I don't
what
see.
What do you mean by support? When you say I support Israel, you think what Israel is doing in wars and whatever.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, I'm not saying I support what they're doing, like necessarily what they're doing. I'm not backing them, but just like, it's like you recognize who they are and you pray for the peace of Jerusalem. You pray for the people of Israel. That's how I see it as. It says, funnily enough, my mother lineage is from the Levites, the tribe you are a part of, passed down through the father.
That's so cool that you know that. Are your records?
Because I've heard that, like the Levites themselves, like. Is your last name Cohen? Or because I've heard that like there were way, I don't know if that is right or whatever, but I've heard that the Levites are one of them, that they've been able to keep the ancestry about them. But and even like people that's why it's not really a bloodline, because like when Jesus was on the scene, he could like rightly say, I'm of the tribe of David, I'm of David, or I'm of the
Because
tribe of Judah.
it was from Joseph and Mary, even though Joseph wasn't his dad.
Well, that's not the way I was going.
Okay.
Going about it. I was just gonna say because like the temple was still there, they had their genealogical records. It hadn't been
I don't know if there was more to that. I don't know.
So yeah, I just see it as like they could back then they could keep track of who was actually where you descended from. That's like they were very heavily into genealogies, but them being scattered throughout the world, it became like to be Jewish, you would be born into it. You'd probably keep the laws as best you can, and it would be very passed down to them and taught to them, and they would do everything. Said Kohen are the high priests, their assistants are the Levites. Oh yeah. So the Kohen, that's right. Yeah. Because like they can trace, like even today, they know who the high priests are. That's why they were able to sacrifice the red heifer last summer. Like it was like real. What were you gonna say?
No.
Yeah, so they can really keep track of. They know who they are. Like
That's
even now.
cool.
So which is like, but like we don't know who is that exactly from the tribe of Dan, Ephraim, and all the Joseph or whatever. Like those things God knows. But like I'd say that in the same way, like a Gentile can become Jewish. It's like just like what we were saying, like with Ruth and Rahab, like they were Gentiles, but they were in the line of the Messiah, so obviously they would be considered, I would say, Jewish. If you're a Kohen or Levite, it will be in your Hebrew name.
Oh wow,
that's neat. That's really cool. Yeah, so I know a lot of people are like, because we've seen like throughout like the last 100 years, like there never in our lifetime has it been like this, where people are vehemently, viscerally against Israel and Jewish people. Like it has not been like that.
What about the Holocaust?
I'm saying the last 100 years, like since then, there was a major change that happened. And like when we were growing up, this was never even thought about. It was all about we're all the same color, or it doesn't even matter. Color doesn't matter. But Jews, like throughout history, like, and I see it as satanic. That like even racism can be satanic, but Satan has a special place in his heart for the Jewish people, that he wants to destroy the Jewish people. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just that goes up and down. Like it's more prevalent at times, and then it kind of goes away. It's kind of like the head of the snake. You smash it and it comes back. But this is and normal people speaking about it, like today, like on the internet, who's going to be boosted and who's going to be talked about, and it's going to gain the airwaves, is the people that are hyper Israeli critical. So they are like, that's the more like it does seem like that Satan is running the airwaves a lot of the times. People that are like talking about, there's been a definite turn that has happened of people against Israel in the last 2 years, especially since October 7th. You know what I'm talking about? So what happened over there, and since that time, it's been everyone like, and that's where I do feel like it's like something is happening, something is bubbling up, something that, and I think that Christians, as we go along further and further, it's not that you have to support the nation state of Israel as in like the government, but like you could be called again that are you going to stand for Jewish people? Are you going to stand for like, and when we say Israel, like it gets complicated, but like that is like what is the homeland of the Jewish people. It's like the one place on earth that Jews can go to, and that they're surrounded by other people of their or their ethnicity or their whatever you want to call it, because it's not really just an Israel is a nationality, but like that's what that is. But then there's the ethnicity, then there's a religion. It gets very like convoluted and confusing at times, but in general, I just want to run through a couple of different passages and then we'll kind of wrap it up. But here's some passages from the Bible. Romans 11:1-2. Paul the Apostle, did God reject his people? And he says, by no means, God did not reject his people whom he foreknew. And that's the difference between the people there's people that are of Israel that are not really of Israel, you know? Like, just like, and that's where I do see it as that secret mystery that God, that chosenness, like if you're in Christ, you are the eternally chosen of God, you know, like, you know, and that's the way you can know you are if you believe in Jesus as the Messiah. It says in Romans 11, 28 through 29, they are loved on account of the patriarchs, for God's gifts and his call are irrevocable. Romans 11, 17 through 24, Paul tells Gentile believers, do not consider yourself superior to those other branches. Do not be arrogant, but tremble. It says this is one of the clearest New Testament warnings against boasting over Israel. So that's what we see a lot of times. Gentiles are rising up. It's like Paul foresaw this. He knew this was going to happen. And this was probably what was happening even in that early community. There's people at each other's necks. Gentiles and Jews, but God's glory is manifested in Gentiles and Jews being at peace. And I think that's what people that are up in arms against Israel are kind of missing the point. It says there are 2 million Israeli Arabs with full citizenships, so it does become. So yeah, salvation is found in no one else, talking about Jesus, but Jesus himself said that salvation is of the Jews. It's of the Jews. Romans 11, 25 through 27, a partial hardening has come upon Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles has come in, and in this way all Israel will be saved. So that one, it's like the partial hardening, the blindness, that Paul talks about. Like when Moses is read, that veil that goes over their eyes, they don't see Jesus, and which is crazy. That's crazy. I'm going to finish this off in a little bit, and I know we're talking about serious stuff, but I'm going to try to do something that's, if anyone's hung around for this long, I'm going to try to laugh, and you're going to understand what I'm talking about at the end, because I'm going to explain what I'm talking about.
Wow.
Jessi's uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. Okay. Zechariah 12, 2 through 3. These are some Old Testament passages. I am going to make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling. All the nations of the earth will gather against her. So this is talking about all the nations of the earth gathered against Israel. On that day, I will set out to destroy all the nations that attack Jerusalem. Zechariah 12:10. They will look on me, the one they pierced. It's talking about Jesus. The final battle we're going to see. This is in Zechariah 14, 1 through 4. I will gather all the nations to Jerusalem to fight against it. Then the Lord will go out and fight against those nations. On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. That's when Jesus returns. But we do see all the nations are against Israel, but God stands up and defends. That's his bride, And we are kind of like I see it as like Joseph. He goes into Egypt and he becomes like Egyptian, and then his brothers come down there. But he marries. You remember her name? What is her name?
Joseph?
No, Joseph. Who did he marry? What's her name? I want to get it. It's like, what is her name? I want to get it without having to look it up.
No, I'm looking it up.
No, I'll look it up. I wanted to I forget. It is Joseph's wife. I want to get it before I even look at it. I'm trying to. Are you finding it? I'm just gonna look it up.
Read what he said though. There are 2 million.
Asenath. That's what it was. I wanted to get it before, but so I just see it as like the Gentile part of the church is kind of like that. Jesus is in Egypt. He's away from his brothers, but he marries this kind of like Egyptian woman, and they have children or whatever, and like that's kind of like the Gentile side of the church, and then there's the reuniting of Jesus and the Jews,
Yeah.
which is like these are like so many things, and like there's types, and then there's greater fulfillments. Mary, that was his mom. Her name was Asenath. I was talking about Joseph's, who he married in Egypt, and then he had Ephraim right? He had Ephraim and Manasseh through. Yeah.
Go back down a little bit and read this. Start with it. There are 2 million.
There are 2 million Israeli Arabs with full citizenship, so it doesn't become complicated when supporting Israel, supporting Mary. And it says, because they are a apartheid state. So you're talking about, Israel, talking about Israel as an apartheid state. And what does that even mean itself? Like, it's just like, I just know, I always think of Rwanda, apartheid, South Africa. There is this major hostility that is happening there. So it's like, I like Israel and Jews and Arabs, or Jews and Muslims, are very against each other in a lot of ways, because a lot of times Muslims want to destroy Jews. I mean, if you even read through the Quran, it talks about, because I see it as that Muhammad got a lot of his information probably from a Jewish person who probably misled him and twisted some of the things to, I don't know. Yeah.
An apartheid state is a government that enforces an institutionalized regime of systematic oppression, of racial segregation.
Sure. Says there are 52 laws unique to Palestinian and Israel administrative detention. So is this somebody like the whole Palestine and Israel thing? Should there be a two-state solution? They don't hate Jews; they hate oppression. Oh, maybe talking about Muslims. So Palestinians, some are Christian, some are Muslim, some are but there is this major hostility. They hate brutal subjugation. Talking about Palestinians, I'm assuming. Which, I mean, I just see it as Israel is this tiny little country, and there's all these other nations around them that want to destroy them, and if they could, they would. And I think if we weren't supporting them as the United States, I think that they would be hit pretty hard, but I think ultimately God will protect them. That's how I see it as. Palestinians can be kidnapped, detained indefinitely with no charges or legal representation. Huh. There's probably some messed up things, and I'm not supporting everything that the government of Israel does and people that the IDF. But in general, I do have a support and stand with Israel. It doesn't. We're not going to excuse evil things that happen, but by people that do evil things. There's people that are evil that are Jews, and there's people that are evil that are Gentiles. So, I wanted to read. Oh,
they're still talking.
So this is Zechariah 14:9. The Lord will be king over the whole earth. Revelation 19:11. Jesus returns on white horse as King of Kings. So those are the main things. This is Joel 3:1-2. I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's a valley in Jerusalem. Joel 3:12-17. God judges the nations gathered against his people. So, I mean, I just think in general, it's a good thing to support Israel, stand with Israel. They're not doing everything perfect. They're not always doing everything right. But I think as Gentiles, it is good to stand with them as much as you can. Please give some reference of form of proof. Who is doing all the destroying? Then do you stand with oppression and the oppressor?
Because like when you say I stand with Israel, it makes it sound like
it's
everything
like we're like making them the Goliath. Because a lot to the nations around them, they feel like they're the Goliath and they're the ones you support apartheid or you don't. When you say apartheid, we were just looking that up. What did that say again?
Racial segregation, extreme oppression.
Obviously, yeah, no. Definitely not.
Systematic
I don't support
oppression
that.
And racial
Read the Amnesty International report now. Do you? Yeah. So it's called "Welcome to Hell." Very closed-minded. I don't know what you're saying. Closed-minded. I'm closed-minded to some things.
They're kind of talking to each other.
Yeah. So yeah, but just in general, I think we can support Israel. We can be very nuanced.
The heart of God, Israel, and we're saddened by the things that are going on now.
Just like in general, like there was armies and kings of Israel that are evil, that did terrible things, and people of Israel that did people can do things and terrible things in the name of Christ, terrible things in the name of Muhammad, but I in general think Muhammad was not good. I would say in general he is not good to follow him. I see him as a false prophet. He is not just a continuation. He's a person that Satan has used to lead a lot of people astray. But that does not say that there are not very good Muslims, because there are. So, so he's talking to me. Okay. Thou shalt not kill. So yeah, I mean, in war, they're in war. They're doing some and stuff that they're defending themselves. There's people on both sides. I just see it as like us to say that we're going to defend everything Hamas is doing. If we could weed out and Hamas and what's the other one, Hezbollah, that's in, it's like because that's the thing that Iran has made it that they're not going to stop fighting against us, or unless Israel stops bombing Lebanon, which Israel probably is doing bad things when they blow up a whole building to get to one terrorist. But it's like, why are we not as United States going in there and saying, Lebanon, get all your Hezbollah terrorists, get them out of there? Or why are we not standing up for the people of Palestine and saying, get all the Hamas leaders that are just holding all you ransom and using you as human shields? So I think we can do both. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, why are we not calling that out? Like, there's probably people evil on Israel's side, and there's people evil on Palestinian side.
War is nasty all the way around. There's no.
Oh yeah, and so it's like, so I'm not defending evil actions, but like, if war is itself is bad, like I just see like people have made it that there's just there's a genocide happening over there, whereas they want to weed out the terrorism over there. It's like, could we, like, it would be like us, like, we live in Missouri in the United States. Like, would we feel comfortable that people that just want to kill us, and if they had bombs, they would drop them on us in a second? Like, living like a state, the next state over? Collective punishment against a caged civilian population is not Christian. It's satanic. I would come up and I understand your view, but I am informed on both sides of the situation. It's not a war. It's caged civilian. But like that itself, like, why do we not, as United States, like, get them out of that cage? Why don't we step in and take and disarm the people that, that are like using them as human shields, and because we just make it seem like because Israel does something, they're trying to take out people, which they're probably killing people that are innocent as well, which is bad. But it's like, we as the United States, we do bad things. Like, it's governments and wars. I don't think it like says that Palestinians people are evil and completely, or Israel's evil completely. But I do see it as we still, as Christians, we should support and stand with Israel in general, not necessarily like the modern state of Israel, like that everything that they do is perfect, but from a biblical perspective. That's how I see it. So, but what do you think, Jessi? I want to see if there's any other. Yeah, there's so much there, and I love getting into that because I do see a lot of people when they talk about this, they talk over each other, and they just say you support people murdering babies. It's like, no, obviously not. That's stupid. Why are you even saying that? It's just making the poisoning the well or whatever of like any real discussion about it. I understand. I do feel like I have like I'm open to being like whatever is truth, but I do have pretty strong opinions about this, because I do just see it as people have made it seem like Israel is completely evil in what they're doing, because that's the talking points. But I'm not going to say that there are people in Israel that aren't doing evil things. I'm not meaning that. I'm not at all meaning that. But so I think we can distinguish between the modern state of Israel, the biblical Israel. But if we just get it down to that, like when we're talking about that, I just see it as that I do see them as like a kernel of them, of who they are. Like, that is the real Israel. I do see that as the real Israel of the Bible. But like not necessarily, or what we heard the other day. It's kind of like what the Messiah will ride in on. They're the donkey that the Messiah will ride in on. Not to say that that donkey is perfect, but it's just doing its job. It's the vehicle which the Messiah will come in on. That's how I see it. Read Norman Finkelstein, maybe so, but you should look into more impartial sources. I do try to be. I'm not just ideologue. I'm very like reasonable and like and open to anything. I say what I mean, but I'm always, and like I could be wrong.
Open to learning more.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Do you have anything else, Jessi?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, we got into a bunch of stuff. I thank for everyone that's commented. Thank you for your perspectives, your opinions, what you believe. Definitely keep coming. Let us know. Drop a comment. And hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you all in the next one.